Hey guys, Eris here. Eris stands for empiricism, rationality, imagination, and skepticism. My real name is Francis. Do not call me that. The only people I'm currently allowing to call me that is family. And even them, except for my parents, I will eventually get to call me Eris. You know, Sting, on a talk show once, he said that even his wife calls him Sting. Listen, guys. Listen, there's a lot happening in the world right now, and I would love for you to bear with me for this video. It's not particularly organized. Actually, it's not at all organized. I actually have no idea how I'm going to do it exactly. But why don't you just rap with me about the coming war? Because there is a war coming. I don't know when. I'm not sure when. So I'm not sure when the war is going to come. If I were to guess, so we all have a bias to believe that war isn't actually going to come for us during our lifetimes. We all have a bias that war isn't going to actually, at least not a war on our own territory, is going to come to us. We have this bias, right? Anybody who's born after the 70s, let's say, or after 1970, let's say. I don't know. That's pretty much a random year, but it's kind of unthinkable to actually have. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe for anybody. Maybe for anybody who's not a boomer. It's pretty unimaginable for us to have war. And maybe you're saying to yourself, no, not at all, actually. You can see the war happening. But do you really see it in your heart? Like, have you gotten like a weapon? Have you prepared with your family and stuff? Probably not. But there's a war coming, I think. And if I try to counterbalance for the bias that I have that a war is not coming, then I'm going to say at like 90% there's a war coming. Honestly, I feel like only at about, well, honestly, 50%. But Trump is getting his people ready. And actually, there's so many things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the debate. I want to talk about the war that we're going to fight. I want to talk about which side you're going to be on. I want to talk about which side I'm going to be on. Well, that's clear. I want to talk about what the war is going to be about, right? Because actually, I see two wars in our future, in our immediate future. One I call the Trump war, and one I call the true war. But anyway, so just hang out with me for a little bit. We're going to talk about the coming wars, what's happening in the US, and hopefully. So, most of my videos are made for the public. Made for the public. They're not actually engaging enough, maybe, for the public, but they're made for the public, and that's who I'm talking to. And I tell you how stupid you are, and so on. In this video, we're either going to do that I'm talking to the present, the future, that I'm talking to the future about what it was like to live in 2020, or I'm talking to my fellow warriors, my allies for the true war, not my allies for the Trump war. I don't really like my allies for the Trump war. Yeah, let's talk to you guys. Let's just talk straight to you guys. This video is for anybody that sees that there's a reasoning problem in the world, that sees that there's a critical thinking problem in the world, that sees that people are stupid, and the more you feel crazy, the more I want you to watch this video and to pay attention, because I feel absolutely nuts. Because it seems to me, and the last video I posted was all about like either I'm absolutely nuts or everybody in the world's wrong. So which is more likely? Obviously, I must be nuts. So if you feel like an alien in this society, when you watch the media, when you talk to your friends, when you fucking whatever, if you feel like an alien, this video's for you. If you feel like, holy shit, what the fuck are we doing? Now, that said, it's taken me some time to get to this point. I've actually moved my temporal reference point into the future a little bit. And what I mean by that, when you think about slavery, when you think about people of the past, you're like, huh, yeah, past people, so dumb. And pretty much, okay, I'm just going to speak for myself now. Whatever's happening in the present is correct. The past is stupid and wrong and bad. The present is correct. The future is better. Okay. So there are a whole bunch of like, maybe like hipsters that will say,
No, no, no. I wish I'd lived in the past.
but those are white hipsters, of course. The world has not, in recent times, been good for black people. Or colored people, I should say, except for in their own countries. And even then, in their own countries, it's not going well because of colonization and all this stuff. What the fuck was my point? I don't regret the beer. So what's my point? My point is that I used to accept things the way that they are, basically. And I thought, I have to be crazy because there's no way that the world is as fucked up as I think that it is. And skepticism itself is very important. And so if you haven't gone through that phase of thinking, I must be crazy because there's no way the world is fucked up as I think it is, you have not been responsible. You maybe have been very intelligent. Are you following me at all? Fuck. What I'm saying right now is that if you have said,
The world is fucked up.
period, as opposed to,
The world seems really, really fucked up, but it must be in my head.
then either you're just well ahead of me, or you were being irresponsible. Because everybody throughout history and in the future will think, oh, the world is fucked up. But is the world actually fucked up, or is that person fucked up? So there's like a lot of talk about morality, right? Morality is going down the shitter or something. That's what the right wing will say, right? No, you're wrong. Okay, so there are always going to be people that say that currently, right now, the way that time is, it's fucked up. If you're humble though, and if you're skeptical of yourself, you should probably say, is this time fucked up, or am I the one who's getting it wrong? Anyway, indeed, this time is fucked up, as is all time. One day, maybe we'll have a society that's figured some things out. But for me, we're still in the fucking Stone Age, culturally and intellectually. So let's talk about that. Why do I say that we're in the Stone Age, intellectually and culturally? You know, we laugh at things from the past. We laugh at, for instance, myths. That's a really good example. We love to, it drives me fucking crazy. You'll get like this Christian student in your high school or college or whatever class who uses the word myth. You're not allowed to use the word myth. If you subscribe to any modern day myth, you're not allowed to refer to the other ones as myths. Jesus Christ. I mean, you've got, any point in time, everybody, whatever bullshit that they were believing was religion. And then all the past bullshit that is no longer subscribed to was myth, right? I mean, obviously, you know that. That's very obvious because I'm talking to my fellow thinkers and my fellow people who are also fortunate enough to not have been raised into a non-thinking family. Because I know that there are some religious people who are sort of thinkers, but they just don't challenge the original ideas. They just apply the thinking after the fact. They're fucking flat earthers, actually, who are pretty good. If you watched Behind the Curve, there's some, that's a documentary, it's available on Netflix, Behind the Curve, a flat earth documentary. There's some people in there who, they're thinkers, but they're just not questioning certain fundamental beliefs, maybe, or sort of the experts that they're listening to. Oh, experts. Completely lost my train of thought, but I think I was talking to you, my fellow thinkers. Yeah, right, myths. Anytime I saw in my college class or my high school class a kid with a cross using the word myth, I'd get upset. What are you doing? Anyway, so we're no different. It's just that now the ideas are a little bit different. Now we've got a modern take on Jesus or on God or whatever. But we're still, by and large, subscribing to the same myths. So first of all, think about that in and of itself. That's how you know we're in the past. That's how you know this is not the reference point of humanity. We still haven't gotten past, we still have religion, flat earth, and just a whole bunch of other dogmatic thinking that's ruining our country and world. And that's what the war is going to be about, the true war. Eris. Empiricism, reason, imagination, and skepticism, especially skepticism itself. There's a war coming. Trump has readied his troops. And I hate how the left will misrepresent what Trump says. I hate it. For the record, Trump, as far as I'm concerned, did not say that Mexicans are rapists. Okay? So let's start there. So if you already agree with me on that, then hear me when I say he has readied the troops, right? No matter what sort of gymnastics I do to kind of try to justify what he said in his debate, right? He said, stand back, stand by, right? He heard the term stand down, so he had stand in his head. And it's possible, if I'm really doing some real gymnastics here, that he went, I have to say stand something. Can't remember what it was, which phrasal verb it was. It was stand down, but I can't remember. So stand, and you see him like, what's the second word? Stand back. Nope, that's not it. Let's keep on this B thing. Stand by. The problem is that even if he was scrambling in that moment, there is no justification for not either immediately saying, or what did you say? Stand what? Or in the coming days, having clarified that. Trump is not a white supremacist. I have no reason to believe that. Nobody has ever convinced me that Trump's a racist. He definitely had racist policies. I've been convinced of that in his real estate days. But even the racism that I'm convinced of from his real estate days, it was really about, I don't want to let blacks into my building because then the whites are going to be upset. And what's his racism now? I don't want to condemn white supremacists because then my base will be upset. Right? People have been dismissing that explanation. It's very obvious the explanation. You don't have to like Trump to see that very reasonably the explanation is that he didn't want to turn away his supporters. But he's also rallied them, in fact. Intentionally, I assume so, because how dumb can you be? He told them to stand by. And I guess depending on how well I've edited this, maybe right here there's a Seth Meyers clip of Seth Meyers saying that Donald Trump didn't respond to the question when he absolutely did. Let me play a little bit of that.
When asked yesterday if he welcomes support from white supremacists, President Trump says that he wants, quote, law and order. Okay, but that's not an answer to that question. That's like if I asked you, is this chicken poisoned? And you said, the mashed potatoes are delicious.
Essentially, Donald Trump was asked, do you want support from white supremacists? Donald Trump says, I want law and order. And Seth, quite stupidly in my opinion, says that that was an irrelevant response. Are you serious, Seth? And the person whose apartment I'm in right now, she said,
Yeah, he's right. It's an irrelevant response.
and the example that he gives is that if you ask, is this chicken poisoned? And I say the mashed potatoes are really good, that's somehow equivalent to the Trump thing. It's not at all. A better equivalency would be, a better analogy would be, if you ask me, is this chicken poisoned? And I say, I really want you to eat the chicken. And if I don't like you, I fucking answered your question. Likewise, Trump answered the question. Do you want the support of white supremacists? Let's rephrase that. Do you want the support of militias that espouse white supremacist ideas? Let's rephrase that. Do you want the support of right-wing militias that have taken it upon themselves to try to keep the peace against leftist violence as they see it? And he said, I want law and order. Tell me what the Proud Boys have been most involved in over the last few weeks. It's about trying to maintain order in cities. We're not even going to get in this video to the fact that the city should be disordered because we have a major problem of systemic racism and so on. And I have no problem with violence, by the way. YouTube, take me down. Well, none of my shit's monetized. But violence needs to happen. There needs to be a lot of violence so that people can start waking up. It's not because you're standing there holding a sign that a law gets changed, that culture gets changed. Maybe some culture, some people, but not the culture overall. To be honest with you, I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. All right. So if you Google the Proud Boys on YouTube, whatever, if you search them on YouTube, you'll see that what their main mission right now is, before the debates, was to try to keep the blacks and leftists from ruining their pristine cities. Never mind the fact that their cities are only pristine for them, whatever. So that's what they're trying to do. That's what they've taken upon themselves to do. Trump wants to send in the National Guard, wants to do all these things, but cities are telling him no. And so what's happening instead is these right-wing militias are going to the cities, in Portland and Kenosha, etc., saying, okay, we're going to maintain order with our assault rifles, our vests, our knives, etc., our camouflage, and the whole bullshit ordeal. So they're trying to maintain law and order. So if you ask, do you denounce these groups that have taken it upon themselves to maintain law and political order, I mean law and right-wing order, and then you say, I want law and order, what have you just said? I mean, who's Trump had how is this not obvious? By the way, anytime something seems obvious, you should be skeptical of yourself, because it may just be your unconscious shouting it at you, but it's not actually evident. It's not actually supported by the evidence. It's not actually obviously supported by the evidence or by reasoning. So put a comment. Show me I'm wrong. But right now, I'm pretty convinced that these militias take it upon themselves to maintain law and order. Of course, they're not doing that, and the laws that they're maintaining are not actual laws because they are being violent, and the order they're maintaining is a systemically racist and patriarchal order. But you've got these groups that are trying to do that, and in response to the question, do you want support from white supremacists? By the way, we also have an election coming up, which he is possibly going to need militia support for. He's already asked them to watch the polling stations. He did not call Mexicans rapists, but he absolutely did encourage his supporters to watch the poll stations. And I know that was a little bit jumbled, but when you ask a person who is concerned about the election, who has encouraged his supporters to monitor polling places, who has said that he has a problem with the leftist violence in cities, and his supporters constitute the militias that are entering these cities and fighting the leftists, when you ask someone like that, do you accept the support of white supremacists, and he says, I want law and order, what is he very clearly saying to you? He's not fucking talking about mashed potatoes, sweetheart. He's talking about the chicken being poisoned. You say to him, is this chicken poisoned? He's saying to you, I want you to eat that. Another example that I was trying to give to my friend is I was trying to explain this to her because she kept saying that we were both right. I mean, the level of reasoning that lay people are capable of is so absent that how do we think ourselves intelligent at all? I'm watching this clip and I say, he is wrong. Trump is responding to the question. And she says,
But I also see what he's saying. I think you're both right.
no. You can't both be right. One person is saying that the other person is wrong. They cannot both be right. Now, if our original statements were the ones being compared, and then on top of that I was saying that the other is wrong, then yes, the original statements can both be right. But my original statement is, in fact, is basically that he is wrong. My original statement is that Trump responded to the question. Seth is saying Trump did not respond to the question. And she's just like,
Yeah. You're both right.
and this is someone I can stand being around. This is someone I enjoy being around. Okay, so she's already a little bit ahead of the public. Anyway, I don't know how true that is. Anyway, so no, Seth. That was not an irrelevant answer. He responded directly to your question, or not to your question, but to the reporter's question. And you're dumb for not seeing that. I have so many problems with the left, and that's what I was saying. I hate my team. Let's just make this a video. Let's just put this up there. We'll try to include the clip from Seth Meyers, but let's not edit much. I need a partner. I need a teammate. Speaking of teammates, I hate my team. So this is what I've said on Twitter to my two followers, Baylor College of Medicine and this girl from high school, woman from high school, excuse me. Some people might think that the war is about black versus white. And if you understand better, you know that it's actually between the left and the right. If you understand even better, you know that it really should be between the right and the wrong. But if you understand even better, since you know that there's no sort of easily verifiable way of saying who's right and who's wrong, then you know that the war is really between the thinking and the not thinking. And that's what the true war is going to be between. And I am happy to lay down my life for the true war. The true war isn't saying that we have truth. It's saying that we want to get to truth, wherever it is. And so we're not going to just stay stuck in whatever beliefs that we have, whatever unfounded bullshit. Hopefully that resonates with some people. There's a true war coming and a Trump war. The Trump war, it's sort of about critical thinking, but not really, because it's not like the left thinks a whole lot better. Obviously, the left listens more to experts, which is already important. But the left still is stupid as fuck. So the Trump war is going to be between the left and the right. And hopefully what's going to happen is, well, first of all, the left is probably going to lose because obviously a lot of soldiers and military folk and just people who care about fighting and shit are on the right. So, but assuming the left doesn't lose, or even if the left does lose, actually, I'm assuming the left will lose. But regardless, what's going to happen after that is the left's going to get together and say, what was our real issue with the right? It wasn't that what they believed. It was how they arrived at and justified those beliefs. Can we reconsider how we justify our own beliefs? Because if you're fucking Seth Meyers or Stephen Colbert, you're an idiot, and I don't want to fight with you. Seth Meyers is an idiot. Stephen Colbert is a moron to me. Like, he says whatever bullshit, sleazy shit needs to be said to seem right. Jimmy Kimmel's not the brightest, but he is one of the fairest talk show hosts, in my opinion. Trevor Noah is the smartest. Trevor Noah and John Oliver are the smartest talk show hosts, in my opinion. But don't doubt themselves enough to avoid saying stupid shit. So hopefully what'll happen over the next 30 years, maybe is that what this video is about? I don't know. Hopefully, over the next 30 years, 45 years, I only think the Trump war is going to last like a year and a half. I think the right's pretty much going to wipe the left out. And so maybe I'll die in that, so maybe I won't see what's going to happen next. But otherwise, what may happen is that the left goes,
Yeah, hold on. We need to think better. We don't really have a problem with what other people believe. We have a problem if they are not thinking in order to get to that belief.
if they're just accepting that belief because that's what their parents told them or because that's what seems right.
Seems right. Hold on. Should we not trust our intuition as much? Hold on a second. Should we be... Hold on.
I don't know whether you just followed that, but I'm actually still acting out what will happen. The left goes,
I believe this. They believe that. I think they're wrong, so we fight. Okay, we lost that fight. But was it really about what they believed? Or was it about the fact that they rejected the science? That they rejected experts? That they had such bullshit... Wait a minute, I do that too.
the left is going to say. If you watch that debate and your main issue is Trump interrupting, you're an idiot. I mean, let me say this plainly and simply. The problem in that debate was not only the nature of debate in general, but what was said by both people. And the incongruencies, the incoherence, it was all trash. When people discuss things, of course there are going to be interruptions. And I've heard this all over Fox News, and they're right. Of course there are going to be interruptions. Are there going to be interruptions to this degree? I don't know, because there's some pretty incendiary things that Biden said that if I were Trump, I would have, if I disagreed or I thought they were unfair, I would have to respond immediately. I mean, debate, the whole notion of debate is bullshit. And this goes back to what I was talking about about this is the past. Because the fact that you're a thinker, so you probably already know that debate is really stupid. First of all, debate is basically what happens anytime two people disagree. That's insane. That's insane. Anytime two people disagree in the 21st century, they fight? Are you joking? What happened to, here's why I think this, let me understand why you think this, so that we can see who's right? We've never really had that. I mean, there are certain sort of intellectual elites that have followed that kind of pattern or that kind of, dialectic procedure. But us as a species, the way that we're wired, it's pretty much you have a conclusion, I have a conclusion, let's go. I'll give whatever justification I need to give to justify my conclusion, rather than explaining. Fuck justifications. Fuck justifying what you believe. Fuck defending. Stop it. All of this is... Anyway, you already know this, though, because you're another thinker like me, and you already know debate's really stupid. Yeah, so you understand that. What else was I saying? Oh, yeah, and then Biden, all the bullshit, talking to the voter, all that pathetic shit. And when I say pathetic, I mean pathos, right? All that, oh, I can connect with you, the viewer, and blah, blah. I'm not even going to show enough respect. Not that the clown necessarily deserves the respect, but we should at least pretend in a debate, maybe, rather than just jumping straight to the manipulating of the viewer. Let me pretend like he's making points, and I'm gonna make points and show him how those points are wrong, and show you how those points are wrong, rather than just, hey, I'm gonna talk to you like this, vote now, blah blah. I mean, it was all total trash and bullshit. And the interruptions was like the third thing on the list. The first thing was that first, let's say one of the more important issues was responding directly to a question. Okay, Trump didn't respond directly to questions. Biden didn't as well. Trump probably did it less. Responded less well, less directly to questions. The second thing is just when you have the answers that it actually made sense. The third thing is, what about the lies, right? Biden got caught in lies. In fact checking. So did Trump, right? How is the interruption your main issue? Because for you, it's not for you. For the other people that are watching this video, not you, because you're a thinker. The other people, they're all about decorum and politeness and so on. And it's all about just what their heart tells them. And their heart said,
Oh, interruption, bad.
The heart's not smart enough to be like,
Wait, looking at the viewer during a debate so many times, that's stupid and that's manipulative.
the heart doesn't figure that stuff out. That's for you, the thinkers, to figure out. The heart just says,
Oh, orange, bad. Oh, interrupting, bad. Stumbled over a sentence, bad.
unless it's your guy who stumbled over the sentence. Because Stephen Colbert made no comments about Biden's gaffes. Biden said some stupid shit. And that's all Fox is talking about. Trump said some stupid shit, and that's all Colbert's talking about. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't like my team. All right, we're going to leave it there because we're approaching 30 minutes in recording time anyway. The point is that there are two wars coming. The Trump war and the true war is what I'm calling them for now. I'm going to fight on the left for the Trump war unenthusiastically because what I really care about is the true war. About the war between thinking styles. And this war is going to be insane. I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be after my lifetime. But within the next 300 years, I estimate, there's going to be a war that involves thinking. And do you realize how crazy that's going to be? There are still religious countries. But it's not even going to be as simple as the West versus like the Middle East, because of course we have lots of very Christian Western nations. Luckily, they've become more secular on the government level. But you're going to have a lot of private citizens that are going to say,
Wait, no. Fuck thinking. I want believing. I like believing. I like faith.
so it's going to be absolutely insane. And it's probably going to be the most significant event in human history. Yes, absolutely, obviously. Not the most significant advancement. Oh, no, that as well, actually. Because if we switch, and you don't even the thinkers, you don't see it yet. You don't see how different the world's going to be once people start kind of thinking critically. The world is going to completely change. Every interaction that you have will look different. People are going to be able to watch interactions of this era and go, wait, how was that happening? Not just the debate, right? Any interaction, because we don't use our reasoning faculties pretty much whatsoever, if we even have them. It's mostly just, unless it's to defend our instincts. We are an instinctual species. We don't realize it, but we are. We follow and justify our instincts. And there's going to be a point where there's going to be a reckoning where people are going to be like,
Wait a minute, why don't we actually use our reasoning? Why don't we force each other to always explain our ideas? Why don't we hold each other to certain standards when explaining our ideas?
like, how do you have two presidential candidates, or the president and his opponent, his challenger? How do we live in a system where they're allowed to just talk? No alarms for lies. No sort of checking for. There's literally even the fact. So we've as a society progressed enough to appreciate facts to some degree, but we say nothing about logic, right? There's no CNN logic fallacy check, right? There's no MSNBC, there's no Fox News, none of that. It's facts, right? But as far as how you use those facts, nobody's looking at that. Now, on PolitiFact and or Politico or whatever, you'll have things like, instead of a statement being called false, it'll be called misleading. But why don't we talk more about that? Hey, look, the fact is right here, but it's introduced in such a time that it gives this impression, blah, blah, or this is this fallacy. When have you ever heard the news say, this is this fallacy, this is this heuristic, this is this bias, this is the confirmation bias? Well, I use that example because everyone's heard of it. You thinkers and everyone else, that's how you know we're in the past. There's no standard for logical thinking, very little standard for facts. And also, we pretend like a fact check matters. Once a bullshit is said on stage and not immediately addressed, the damage is done. That's how the mind works, bro. You know that as a thinker. You know that for your lesser friends and family, that we are influenced by things, that when we hear something on TV, false or true, and regardless of what assessment it gets afterwards, what grade of trueness it gets afterwards, an idea gets stuck in our head and it influences our other ideas. Fact checking does nothing, except for if you already disagree with the guy, you can say, oh yeah, look, now I can justify why I disagree with him because he said all these lies. So there's going to be a war. There's going to be the true war. And it's going to be a fight between the intellectual elite and everybody else. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Probably going to lose that too. Humanity just needs to start over. All right. Yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. Humanity, I'm for every villain that just wipes us clean. And I understand, like, I may have some good ideas, and so it'll be a shame if I get wiped clean, but wipe me clean. Wipe me clean. Just save my videos and my writing for the next group. And another important thing that I want to say is that even before the Trump era, I would be talking to, let's say, a black friend who was talking about the outrageous sort of discrimination, Jim Crow laws, segregation of the 60s or of slavery in general. And it's like, you know your mind isn't actually better than that, right? You know that if you were white and if you grew up in the South, that you would be supporting the same things, right? It's like the left thinks that they're actually better than they're right. You're not. You just happen to believe things that are a little bit more, or you just happen to be more culturally motivated to believe in things that are more in line with reality, in general, but not in each and every case, right? Because you definitely say a lot of stupid shit about Trump and a lot of stupid shit about morality and immigration and all sorts of different issues. You're no better than the other side. There are maybe more thinkers on the left, although again, thinking can just be used to justify whatever bullshit belief you have. So a lot of very intelligent people can believe crazy things because all they use their intelligence for is to justify what they believe rather than to actually find a good belief. Do you understand the difference between that? Do you understand the difference between justifying a belief and finding a belief? I mean, the difference is obvious, but as far as an approach to life, I try to find anything I believe. And if I don't find it, well, and I don't necessarily personally try to find it, I'll trust the experts and so on. But any reason that I have for believing, it's not a defense or a justification. hopefully it was one of the steps I took to get to that belief. I don't really trust myself either, and so I'm happy for anybody to show me how I'm actually only justifying a belief that I think that I had found. But anyway, that's a really important point, that we have not evolved biologically since slavery. And I don't even know that we've learned all that much, except for maybe some version of the statement, slavery is bad. But we have the prison system, so we haven't really learned anything. It's not slavery, therefore it's okay, because all we really learned is the statement, slavery is bad. Had we actually learned maybe, I don't know, that free labor, I don't know what we could have learned. I don't know, but basically our heart got programmed, okay, black people being owned white people, bad. But it's not like we actually, intellectually, on any intellectual level, really understood what can't and can happen. So even ethically, we've evolved very little, but biologically, we haven't evolved at all. So we can fall prey to all the same traps. So I don't know why people don't get that. How do you think that people supported the Holocaust? How do you think that people supported slavery? How do you think that people are anti-vax and so on? How do you think that people believe in the flat earth? They have the exact same machinery that you do. It's just that, and that's why Tim Urban, a science writer, in the documentary Behind the Earth, he says everybody should ask themselves, what are you a flat earther about? How are you a flat earther? So while you might not believe that the earth is flat, what belief are you maintaining, even though it's not necessarily supported by the evidence, or in fact, despite what the evidence says? And that's why I don't like my team. The left or right, there's really no difference. I mean, they're still just making all these mental errors. I mean, obviously there are some pretty major differences, but they're still making all these mental errors, and so that's why they're both capable of believing in the other thing. If they had just been raised in that town, if they had just been raised in that city, if they had just been, if they had just read that thing on Facebook, or if they had just been in that Facebook bubble, etc., if they had just benefited from that policy, then that's what they would believe. And that's why the Trump war is going to be between two groups of idiots, one who's just a little bit more right than the other. The true war is going to be between people who want to find truth and people who think they already have it. And spoiler alert, they don't.
But no, I don't check my messages. If I don't get an alert about it, I don't find out about it.
Subscribe. Subscribe for more.